Hello and welcome to this masterclass. I have about approximately a 30-minute masterclass that's going to be jam-packed full of juicy nuggets for you. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Lisa Zinga, and I've become super passionate about teaching this epic healing method. It's changed my life. And to tell you a little bit about myself and where I've come from is growing up, I grew up with a stepfather who was very controlling, very emotional, mentally, physically abusive. So part of me creating this has come from a place of, really feeling stuck, feeling like I'm broken, feeling anxious most of the time, and really being tired of getting caught up in the ups and downs of life. And so, I've broken them down into three pillars. What these methods have taught me is I've really come to learn how energy works and how reality works, essentially, and understanding that we are creating our reality. So I'm super excited to share with you these pillars. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to post them in the comments or send me a private message if you want to talk deeper about these topics. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you because I've broken it down into slides so that I can work to stay on topic because Lord knows, I mean, there's one of the things about, creating these master classes is I'm learning that I have so much to share. So here we go. So basically, what the Epic Healing Method does is I help people stuck in negativity, pain, and trauma transition into empowered, confident, and a harmonious state. So here we got the three different pillars that I've created. The first pillar is all about healing and letting go. The second pillar is all about embodiment and empowerment. And the third one is when you understand, pillar one and pillar two, it's all about mastering that and life. So to begin, in pillar one, and these are all very, I want to say condensed, so a very short form, but sort of the gist of understanding how you can begin to look at things perhaps, oh my goodness, I can't talk, perhaps from a different lens. So for starters, we got your energy. Now, David Hawkins came up with this scale and it's absolutely brilliant. It's basically a map of frequency, understanding that we are energy. And basically, what happened for me is I went from a place where you can see on this map, it all is measured in different frequencies. I started at anxiety, which is at 100. And what I've learned is that the truth of who we are, our true frequency is love. So it's at 500. Now that's a big difference. And to me, understanding that the truth of who we are, which I resonate with. So basically, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Is the reason why anxiety would feel so uncomfortable is because you're not anxiety, you're not your emotion. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken is every time I'm experiencing something to recognize that I'm not the emotion. Now that takes practice, obviously, because if you're used to being in a reactive mode, I mean, that's going to be the go-to. So when you can, the benefit of knowing about this scale is understanding that in order to get into a higher frequency, there's different energies and emotions to go through. So if you look at the scale here, and you look at anxiety, my base point was likely I was living in a fear-based life, which makes sense at the time because I really didn't know who I was. And what I learned, and chances are, if you're here, you're an empath also, someone who absorbs energy and takes on people's energy. And I wasn't aware of that. And when I learned how to, take care of my auric field, and I'll get more into that on different practices that you can do to be mindful of your energy. I was able to move through these steps in recognizing, that every moment is a choice. And that is the beauty of life. So, you know, in order to move out of fear, you've got to get into desire, a desire to do it. And, you're probably going to come up against recognizing certain patterns that you have, and it may create anger. And then it takes a lot of courage to step into the higher levels of consciousness because it's different. And, we either live from the mind or we live from the ego. And the ego is not a bad thing. It's there to keep you safe. So it may tell you, "Ooh, that's not safe. That's different." So it's really about becoming friends with your ego and understanding that. And again, it all takes practice. So that is what I'd like to say about your energy. And the other cool part also to think about is we have a 6-foot donut that is running constantly circulating, and it's like a pulse. And if you understand that life is always working for you, you'll understand that your energy is your signature, and the universe looks at what you have in your energetic bubble, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, as what you want more of. So again, I'm going to get more into that, but I think it's a good thing to think about and to recognize, be like, and the next step to that is understanding that life is a mirror of you. So when you're experiencing those lower dense emotions, let's call them, um, it's because somewhere in your body you have a past memory that is linked to it. And so understanding that the world is always a reflection of what you want, becoming hyper aware of what you experience is life changing. This changed my life. And I'll never forget the very first thing that changed this for me was recognizing that every time my husband got upset with me, it triggered basically a program saying that I'm not lovable. And so that was really my first introduction into the mirror. And when you can look at your life and take radical responsibility for what's in your frequency, um, honestly, it's so good in the way that you really get to live life on purpose and clean up all that, you'd call it fragmentation, all those pieces of you that you're not. Because let's face it, a lot of the stuff that you're holding on to is passed on programming from your parents and your parents' parents, and so on and so forth. So, and the important part of healing and letting go, I put forgiveness in here in this masterclass today because the important thing to know about forgiveness is, again, when we think of energy and you're holding on to that resentment, that anger, that's holding you in that pattern. It's holding you. And if you look at that, the scale of consciousness, anger is at 150, so, and also when we hold on to those lower dense emotions, our body doesn't recognize it. So sometimes it creates dis-ease in the body, and sometimes can even manifest into disease. So really becoming aware of what you're holding on to, what you're carrying is huge. Again, life changing. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching this, because when you can shift your perspective on certain things, you basically change your reality. Every single frequency bandwidth that you see in the scale is a different level of reality, understanding that they're all existing right now. And the next piece of really truly healing and letting go, you have to have healthy boundaries, period. Boundaries is the glue to self-love. It's the glue to forgiveness. It's also the glue to trusting yourself. And with a really good, healthy combination of these three things, what I've learned is you will have better access to your intuition and your guidance system. And yeah, that is what I have to say about pillar 1. Now, here in pillar 2, I've got embodiment and empowerment. So in that first pillar, when you think about your energy, you think about the mirror, and you have a different perspective on all of that. The embodiment and empowerment piece is what keeps those things into place. So one thing that's coming to mind that I'd like to mention is that healing is really being able to shift your mind around, making it something exciting and fun, because that is life. And it's all about shifting your mind in the way that you're creating new neural pathways all of the time. And so these are things that help your mind, body, and soul be able to maintain and grow and strengthen all those new neural pathways that you get to create. And so first off, with the mind, when it comes to integrating these different parts of yourself, meditation is key. And now I like to mention that, meditation, the traditional way of people looking at meditation is that it's sitting quiet and not thinking of anything. That's not meditation. And the only time I do that type of meditation is when I'm really feeling stuck about stuff, like I'm really overwhelmed. The way that I like looking at meditation is that it's simply being present in the moment. And so whatever brings you in the present of the moment, whether it's gardening, whether it's doing the dishes, whether it's going for a walk in the forest, whether it's being with a friend where you feel like there's an equal give and take, any sort of those patterns will help to keep you in your newer alignment in the present moment, out of the past. Not saying that your past is not going to come up, and that's part of life, but with these practices and these tools, when the past does come up, you're going to know exactly what to do. So it won't take you into that roller coaster where you get sucked into life and you lose yourself. You'll be able to have all the tools to keep you in the present moment, to not get sucked into whatever emotion it is that's coming up and that you're feeling. You're really going to be able to create that space and that pause that's needed to navigate through that. The next part, when it comes to the mind, it's pretty fascinating, but your mind doesn't actually know the difference between what's actually true and reality and non-reality. So there is a ton of power when it comes to affirmations. And affirmations can be pretty simple. It just depends on what you would like to strengthen. So, for example, way back when I had a lot of negative programming around, the fact that I'm not loving, I'm not smart, I'm not a good wife, I'm not a good mother. So, I had a lot of programming that I had to sift through. And what really helped me shift my perception and my perspective and really learning, whether that program was even mine or not. A lot of this programming that I held on to was passed on. Um, so yeah, you can have fun with affirmations. There's many different ways of doing it. You can either write them down or you can create a painting where you're reminded on a daily, like think of yourself as almost like a computer. You're, getting rid of the junk. Um, because, going back to your energetic bubble, that's really what creates a lot of what you're experiencing. Now, the other thing with the mind too, triggers are pretty big, right? And really, I mean, it's not fun when you do get triggered, right? However, again, with my method, I've really now look at triggers and I get kind of excited. I'm not going to lie. I mean, some are more uncomfortable than others, but now it's like, okay, I get to look at what is another thing that I'm unconsciously holding onto that I get to let go and I get to shift into a higher timeline, one that isn't going to show me that I'm holding on to that anymore, if that makes sense. So, really, the triggers become easier to look at when you do understand that life is a mirror. Now, the next piece is body. When you learn about your chakras and all your different energetic centers, you'll learn that it's easy for them to become clogged and blocked, and there's a lot of power in learning about your chakras because you can learn whether they're underactive or overactive. And there's many different ways of clearing your chakras, meditation being one of them. But I find it very fascinating to learn about all the different things. And in the Epic Healing method, I've got some meditations that allow you to clear your energetic fields. Another thing to know about is your pineal gland. We have this gland that's like our antenna. And, you know, in a lot of different places, I'm from Stratford, we have a lot of fluoride in our water. So fluoride is known to calcify this antenna. So again, there are different meditations that you can do to help to decalcify your pineal gland. And this really helps to connect you and bring you back into remembrance of who you truly are. And then your aura, again, keeping it cleared really helps you to be able to stay in your own energy, knowing the difference between what is yours and what isn't yours. And the next part of keeping this all intact is your soul being connected to your heart, operating from your heart. And, part of that is needing to know trust. So, the Epic Healing method to kind of start to bring all of these things together is when you have healthy self love, when you've learned how to forgive and to let go, you become lighter. When you learn to trust yourself and how to trust others, and you've got really, really healthy boundaries, that is what I learned that helps keep all of these things intact. Again, wanting to mention that life still happens, right? It just depends on how you choose to react to those situations. And so I'm super passionate about all of these things because in my experience, these are all the missing pieces of being able to navigate life with grace and ease. And then here in pillar 3 is mastery and life. And when you've got a great understanding of all of the things in pillar 1, which again is understanding your energy and what you're creating, understanding that your life is a mirror, everything is a reflection of you, and how to be able to understand that, because I mean, there's people projecting all the time. And then when you learn about forgiveness and how to create healthy boundaries, you will have a greater understanding of how you create your reality, how you came to this life, chose your parents chose you for your soul growth. And then when you have a really great understanding of all of those things, then you can really have a good understanding of how manifesting works. Now, I've really been playing around with this piece and it's amazing. I look forward to sharing more about that with you. And part of keeping all of this intact is definitely having a practice where you can practice having self-worth. Now, the magic about all of these things, and I mean, I could go into so many other topics, but I'm really trying to keep this, on the shorter, sweeter side, but to give you enough juicy nuggets that you can become inspired too. When you shift these things in your reality, it's incredible. You really get to solidify the sense of knowing and the understanding that everything is a mirror. You will literally see everything shift around you. You are then holding on to different energetic frequency codes that, well, some people will either adopt or you'll get to learn who doesn't want to, and that's okay. And yeah, as I mentioned too, we got here intuition. When you have a healthy sense of all of the things that I spoke about that are in the epic healing method, so how to love yourself, forgive, create healthy boundaries, trust yourself, your intuition will be so heightened. And I look forward to sharing how to spot the magic in the universe also. I hope that you found this masterclass to be informative. Again, if you have any questions or you want to go deeper on a topic, I would love to share more. As you can tell, I'm super passionate about this. And a quick recap is pillar 1 is all about healing and letting go. Pillar 2 is about embodiment and empowerment. And pillar 3 is all about mastery and life. And in the very bottom, I have some different links for you. If you'd like to book a free call to learn more about the epic healing session, I'd love to share more. Or joining the group Epic Healing, here is the link. And if you know anyone else who would like to learn these topics, please feel free to share this link. And you can also find me on Instagram and TikTok. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this masterclass. I look forward to seeing you in the future. I hope you have a fantastic day.